There is a power tool brand that Bunnings stocked in this country on the shelf next to the ones you know. Bunnings dropped it, and within the year a receiver was running what was left of the company. The tools did not fail. The batteries did not fail. A retailer made one decision, and every one of those tools became an orphan, in a shed, still working. Nobody got a letter. There is a way to see the next one coming though, and it is sitting on a shelf you walk past every single time you go in. I will show you exactly where it is, at the end, because a battery platform can die in 3 different ways, and only one of them makes the news. 3 ways, 1 warning sign, and 1 brand that put the opposite in writing. I went and read the page. It does not say what I told you it said in the last video. The brand is GMC, Global Machinery Company. If you were buying tools in Australia 20 years ago, you did not need me to tell you that name, because it was everywhere. Bunnings carried the range. The 2 men who owned it, Peter Hosking and Tony D'Antonio, were Melbourne-based, and they were on the BRW Rich 200 list in the same year the company went under. Then 2 things happened, and the order matters. In 2007, Bunnings cut back the GMC range. Not all of it. Some of it. The year after, Bunnings dropped the company completely, when it signed an exclusive deal to be the only stockist of Ryobi in Australia. The company's revenue fell hard after that, and Smart Company, reporting at the time, put the fall down to one thing: the loss of the Bunnings sales. And by December of 2008, the company was in the hands of a receiver, Leanne Chesser, from Corda Mentha. I want to be precise about what I do not know here. I have not read a single document about what happened to individual warranty claims after that, and I am not going to invent one. What I can tell you is the mechanism, because the mechanism is the whole point of this video. That is death number 1, and it is the one almost nobody plans for. The retailer drops the line. Think about what a battery platform actually is. It is not the tool. The platform is everything around it. The spare battery you buy in 2 years, the charger you replace when you leave it in the rain, the next tool you add because you already own 4 packs. Every one of those things reaches you through a shop. So when a retailer stops carrying a brand, the tool in your hand still spins. What changes is that the road forward is gone. No new batteries on that shelf, no charger, no 5th tool, and here is the part that catches people. The tool outlives the platform. It keeps working for years, which is exactly why you do not react. You only find out when you go in for a battery, and it is not there, and by then the decision was made a long time ago, in a meeting you were never in. That is what happened with GMC. The tools did not stop, the shelf did. Look at what the deal that killed GMC actually was. Bunnings did not simply stop carrying a brand, it signed an agreement to be the only place in Australia you could buy Ryobi. That is the arrangement, in the reporting from the time. Exclusivity is the normal shape of this market. Ozito is sold through Bunnings, and nowhere else, and as I showed in the Australian brands video, it is owned in Germany, not by the shop. Ryobi came under the deal I just described. When a platform is tied to one chain, the chain and the platform are the same risk. There is no second shop to walk into. Compare that with a brand sold through 50 independents. One of them dropping the line is a bad week for that shop. It is not an extinction event for the platform, because 49 other doors are still open. Which is the whole point. When there is only one door, the health of the brand and the health of the shop are one thing. This is Toolwatch Australia. Australian terms, Australian stock, and nothing else. Subscribe, and you will get the rest of these. And if you want the boring pages without reading them yourself, I put every Australian warranty term, brand by brand, into a free PDF. It is called the Aussie Tool Buyer's Bible, and the link is pinned in the comments. Grab it now rather than at the end, because the next part is where it starts being useful. Death number 2 does not need a company to fail at all. The maker does it on purpose. I covered the clearest example of this in the battery video, so I will not do the whole thing again. Makita runs two cordless systems side by side, LXT and XGT, and they do not share a battery. If you built on one and the range you want moves to the other, you are buying in twice. Nobody went broke. Nobody got dropped. Makita is still selling both systems today, and I am not telling you it has walked away from either one, because I cannot show you that. The risk is not abandonment, it is that the tool you want next lands on the other road. This is the death with no news story attached, and that is what makes it hard to see. A second system is not a collapse, it is a product announcement, and product announcements read like good news. The question is never whether the brand is in trouble. The question is whether the road you are standing on is the road they are still building. Now the brand that went the other way. I have to start this one by taking something back. In the battery video I told you every OnePlus battery Ryobi have ever made fits every OnePlus tool they have ever made, and I called it Ryobi's own promise. I went looking for that sentence on their Australian page. It is not there. What is there is narrower, and I will read you all of it. Answering a question about their 18-volt rotary tools, Ryobi say the tool will take any size 18-volt OnePlus battery, and in the same breath they recommend 4.0 amp-hours or higher for best performance and runtime. So the pack fits, and they tell you which one to reach for. That is capacity, and it is one part of the range, and I am not going to stretch it further than it goes. But look at what it still is. On that page, today, the maker has written down which batteries fit which tools. Whether that sentence was there 10 years ago I cannot show you, so I am not going to tell you it was. That is the promise from the start. Smaller than the one I gave you last time, and I will still take it, because a rule I can go and read is a different thing from a road I assumed would still be there. Death number 3 is the one everyone pictures when they think about this, and it is the only one that gets a headline. The company falls over. GMC is that too, in the end. But look at the order again, because the order is the lesson. Bunnings cut the range first. Bunnings dropped it second. Receivership came last. The collapse was not the event, it was the result. By the time a receiver is appointed, the thing that mattered to you already happened, on a shelf, a year earlier. Which is why waiting for the news is waiting for the wrong signal. So what actually happens to the batteries in your shed? Nothing dramatic, and that is the problem. They keep working. They hold less charge every year the way every lithium pack does, and one day one of them will not take a charge at all, and that is the day the platform ends for you. Not the day the company folded, not the day the brand left the shelf. The day you needed a replacement pack, and there was not one to buy. The tool is the part that lasts. The battery is the part that runs out. Everybody buys the tool and inherits the battery problem later. Now the shelf I promised you. Here is the thing I want you watching, and it is the reason I made this video. The spare part leaves before the tool does. When a retailer winds a brand down, I would expect the spares to go before the tools, and the reason is not mysterious. The tools sit there because they are the thing people walk in and buy on impulse. The bare batteries and the chargers are lower volume, they take shelf space, and they are the easiest line to quietly stop reordering. I want to be straight about what that is. I do not have a document showing that is how the GMC wind down ran, and I am not going to pretend I do. What I have is the order it happened in, and a reason to watch the cheap end of the shelf instead of the expensive end. Treat it as the thing to check, not as a thing I have proved. So the shelf that tells you the truth is not the wall of tools at the end of the aisle, it is the small section of loose batteries and chargers, and what you are watching is whether the pack sizes are thinning out. Go to the retailer's site, find the brand, and look at how many bare batteries and chargers are listed, with no tool attached, then check it again in a few months. If the tools are still up and the spares are shrinking, that is the picture I have been describing. That is it. That is the whole warning system. There are 2 more checks worth knowing, and both are free. The first of those 2 is the company itself. In Australia, ASIC keeps a public register of companies, and you can search it by name or by ACN. If you want to know whether the entity behind a brand is still trading, that register is where the answer lives, and it is a primary source rather than somebody's opinion in a forum. The second is the brand's own site. Everything I told you about Ryobi came from there. Everything I told you about GMC came from reporting published at the time, which is a different kind of source, and that is why I named it when I used it. If a system has been replaced, the maker usually says so in the least exciting place possible, in a compatibility note or a support article. It is not hidden, it is just boring, so nobody reads it. I am not going to pretend any of this makes the choice easy. The whole comparison, every Australian warranty term brand by brand, what needs registering and what does not, and which batteries cross between which brands, is in a free PDF. It is called the Aussie Tool Buyer's Bible. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. Go and count the packs, not the tools, the batteries. Open the drawer, look on the charger, look in the bag in the ute, and get to a number. Whatever that number is, that is your switching cost, and it is the only number in this whole conversation that is actually yours. 2 packs is an inconvenience, 6 packs is a decision you are not going to make, and both of us know it. And notice which direction that number moves. It only goes up. Every year you stay, the cost of leaving grows. I have a number 2, and it is not 2. And I picked most of it the way everybody picks it, one tool at a time, without once asking the question I have just spent 13 minutes telling you to ask. One last thing. You cannot pick a platform that is guaranteed to be there in 15 years. Nobody can. What you can do is treat the pack as the purchase, because the pack is the thing with an expiry date attached to somebody else's business decision, and when you do that, the question at the counter changes. It stops being which one is better this month. It becomes, how easy will it be to buy just a battery, on its own, in 5 years, from a shop I can actually get to? Has a platform already died under you? Is there a tool in your shed right now that works perfectly, and has no battery you can buy for it? I read the comments, and that one I genuinely want to see. And if any of this was new, the battery video is the other half of it, the one that puts the 4 platforms side by side, and reads you the clause that costs you the most. One more thing, and I left it out on purpose. Everything I just told you assumes you are buying the battery from the brand. There is a whole shelf of packs that are not made by the brand at all, that fit perfectly, that cost a fraction, and that appear on the same sites you already shop on. I read what the makers actually say about those, and the answer is not the one I expected. That is the next video.